It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me. We did one of these lunches at the House of Lords, and it was rather noisy in one of the Lords' dining rooms, so it's nice to actually have a quiet setting to talk. Thank you, Scott, for your kind words. We're a membership organisation at heart, and we work closely with a lot of fantastic British companies, and we work with a lot of non-members through our close partnership with DIT. Our history is around 65 years, so we've had a presence in China for many, many years, and we are seen as an organisation as a friend of China, and we've sustained those links through our history, which I'm not going to bore you with today, but it's quite interesting. And we're recognised by Chinese leaders from the president down to sort of companies. We now have 15 offices across the China market, and just shy of around 900 members work with us to varying degrees. The Chinese food and drink market is, I guess it's sort of a star in the horizon. British exports increased 60% in the first half of this year over last year. But it's challenging, and I think it's changing very rapidly. I've just come back from 2 weeks in China. There's a big imported food show in Shanghai every year, Food and Hospitality China. We also did a particular promotion around British beer and cider, although cider's not very well known in China, and the duties are quite prohibitive at 40%. So there's a lot of time and investment required to make China work. We're not the only country looking at China, that states the obvious, but it's getting increasingly competitive. And you know what I see in the UK, and I think what's happening in the UK food and drink market is hugely exciting, and there's a huge amount of passion. The Chinese are definitely looking for safe, healthy products with strong provenance. We've got all of that, but other people recognise that that's what they need as well. And I think we're hearing increasingly from Chinese distributors and end users. Certainly in the beer promotion we did in Guangzhou, we took some very famous beer brands into the bar, and the bar owner said, "You need to come to me with a marketing plan and a budget, because I'm not going to sell your beer if you're not going to work with me to help me do it." He said, "Fine, I can list it, but it will just be one beer on a long list of other beers, and you'll sell 2 or 3 bottles a month, and you know that doesn't help either of us." So I think that Scott, and the way Scott's approached the market is absolutely right. Made that commitment and that time, really worked with the distributor over the last 3 years, really to make them understand and help them to sell the product. Otherwise, it was just going to be another jam. And you're great because you've got a very strong brand, and that helps to sell that as well. But actually having that provenance to help the distributor sell the product, because they've probably got lots of listings, and he who shouts loudest and who's out in the market providing that support, helping them sell. It's logical. It sounds obvious, but I can give any number of other examples of companies who sort of said, "Oh, we've got a deal with one of the big online e-commerce platforms, but we're not selling very much." "Well, what marketing activity are you doing around that?" They said, "Well, we thought the Chinese would do that." And I said, "But they've got 250,000 SKUs on their website. Why would they choose yours?" And then it's, well, actually that makes real sense. So yes, we'll have to look at our marketing strategy, and there's a lot of social media involved in China now. The big move really for Chinese people is that they're starting to go out more and visit restaurants and bars and take an interest in the food, particularly the millennial generation. 318 million Chinese between 15 and 29. They've been born into modern China. They've never lived through the hard times of the Cultural Revolution. They're very free-spirited, much more adventurous, always on mobile. Mobile commerce actually is taken over from e-commerce. Nobody buys anything from their laptop anymore. It's all mobile commerce. I think over half, maybe even 3/4 of all the sales on Singles Day last month were through mobile commerce. Yes, there's an opportunity, but it does require companies to, I think, research and understand where those markets might be. The Shanghai, lots of imported food goes into Shanghai, but it's very saturated and very competitive. As part of the trip we took some of the companies out to Nanjing, which is the capital of Jiangsu province, which Essex is twinned with, but also to Hangzhou, which is the capital of Zhejiang province. They're both the size of the UK. population similar to the UK. And I think most of the companies were completely blown away. You know, you hear talk about the opportunities in the second and third tier cities, but they're really there, and there may be an opportunity for sort of a maybe second mover advantage to look at those cities rather than just think, oh, Shanghai's huge. It is huge, but it's hugely competitive. I think the other thing, there's a lot of regulatory paperwork, compliance issues. China's launched its new food safety law at the end of last year. During the course of this year, we're seeing the implementation guidance coming out. There's been a lot of pushback around some of the proposed legislation. Some of it's still not clear, but one thing that's 100% clear is that from October next year, every product's going to need an export health certificate. Sorry, we're working with DEFRA very closely to try and feed in sort of views of industry on that, to try and make that as pain-free as possible and ensure that there's no blips in the system, that's all working. So hopefully there'll be news on that next week, and maybe more in the new year. So yeah, I mean, some products, you know, there are market access issues with China. We can't sell beef, we can't sell lamb, we can't sell processed pork products. We can sell parts of the pig, but only from certain key approved abattoirs and cold stores. We can't sell fresh produce at the moment, but you know, so it can be a case by case basis. But that's probably enough for now.
But you are exporting live crabs from Cromer. So
exactly. I mean, seafood,
that's
you know,
a real coup.
Live seafood. I mean, that's great. And actually, the market for crabs was closed for a while because of the Chinese had detected higher than permissible levels of cadmium. But with the embassy, and we've got a great agri-food counsellor in Karen Morgan based at the embassy, and she worked very hard with the authorities to get that temporary ban lifted and find a solution to that challenge. So. Yes, and seafood is one of our biggest seafood, and salmon is one of the biggest.
Well, Scott will be pleased to hear that Scotland are really ploughing ahead with their seafood to China.
Yeah.